Thank you, Speaker. Well, this government gets it. We know that too many families are facing unacceptably high costs as they try and do something about something that as a society we should all support, juggling work and family. We know that in a time of genuine cost of living pressures, one of the largest expenses for many families is their childcare bill. And we get that too many women, and it is mainly women, are unable to take up that extra day of work because the cost of childcare is currently just prohibitive. The consequences of that are felt not just by them and their family, but they're actually felt by us as a community and a society. In a period where we have workplaces desperately looking for workers, we actually are disincentivising a huge chunk of our workforce from being in jobs, helping our businesses get on with it. And of course, we also know that we are setting women up for being at risk of poverty later in life, and that, in fact, the greatest group at risk of homelessness at the moment is older women. That often is a consequence of women earlier in life taking up caring responsibilities. So there are so many ways that this bill is really important and that this bill is going to change the lives of families in Australia and going to make our communities stronger. And it's for all these reasons that I'm very proud to be speaking to support it today. Deputy Speaker, I have young children myself, and as someone with young children, I spend a lot of time in playgrounds, and I've come to have quite often what I like to call the swing conversation. And this is where you're pushing your child on the swing and there's another mum next to you pushing their child on the swing, and you start having that chat about, oh yeah, how old's your kid, what do you do, how often do you work? And it always ends up with, how often do you work? And always, nearly always, the line is, oh, look, I'm just working 3 days a week at the moment. We wanted to look at an extra day, but we sat down and we did the maths, and it doesn't make sense to me to work that extra day. Childcare is just so expensive. I genuinely have this conversation with women over and over again in my community. It doesn't need to be this way. Childcare is something, early education is something that benefits our children and it benefits families. We know from the data that last year there were 73,000 people who wanted to work but didn't look for work because they couldn't make childcare costs work for their situation. And so with our plan, our government is encouraging these people. We're encouraging those mums at the swing to be able to work that extra day, to know that they can do that without actually paying more for their childcare than they're being paid to do their job. This bill is all about supporting women to increase their participation in the workforce, and through this, accelerating work to close the participation, pay and superannuation gaps. It is a win-win-win, good for children, good for families and good for the economy. One of the really important parts of our plan is that 96% of Australian families will be better off. And this is important because childcare should be one of those services that we can all rely on and all use. And I'm very pleased that our government has been clear that this is not the end of the childcare journey, that we also want to look at how we make this a universal system that does benefit all families. The changes we're introducing will lift the maximum childcare subsidy rate to 90% for families with a combined income of under $80,000. So for some of the families in Jagga Jagga in my electorate, that will be a really big beneficial change. A family on a combined income of $90,000 a year, they might be in Heidelberg Heights or Watsonia in my community, for example, with one child in childcare 3 days a week, currently receives an annual subsidy of about $13,000. With the future subsidy delivered by our government's plan, a family in this situation will save $1,140 in the first year of our new policy. This is significant money going back into the pockets of local families to help bring down their costs. And of course, there are many families in my community who have more than one child attending childcare, and my family is one of those, and our government understands this. Our plan will retain the higher childcare subsidy for families with more than one child aged 5 and under in care to maximise the benefits this policy has across communities and ensure as many families benefit as possible. Deputy Speaker, we also know that part of this equation is supporting the people who work in early education. And I want to give a big shout out to all of those people who do this incredibly difficult work that we have undervalued for too long. The people who work in early education do deserve a pay rise. And I'm very glad that this government will also be bringing our legislation to this place that goes to some of the historic issues that have meant why women in feminised industry like early education have not been paid as they should. Because any of us who have spent time caring for children, trying to educate them, we know what a huge job that is and what an important job that is. And so I do want to give a shout out to all the early educators in my electorate, to the people at Good Start Ivanhoe, who I visited recently for Early Learning Matters Week, and who took me through everything they were doing in a day, running around after teeny tiny children, helping older children start to learn their letters. It's a huge breadth of both care and education that these educators are providing, and at the moment we don't recognise it as it should, and as we should. And as we continue to look at how we improve our childcare system, that's absolutely something that we must improve. I also do want to give a shout out to all the educators at my children's centre because, again, I see every day how hard you're working to keep things on track in really difficult circumstances and often feeling underappreciated for that. Deputy Speaker, we make all these changes because Labor understands modern families. We understand that in our families we want to be able to juggle work, care, and we want to be able to do that without it ruining us financially. And I hear this time and time again in my community that we do need to make these changes that for too long...
Would you take your seat? And I'll call the opposition minister.
Can I draw the Deputy Speaker's attention to the...
Quorum required. Please ring the bell.
Finish the sentence.
Order. In accordance with Standing Order 55, the House will be counted at the first opportunity for the next sitting day if the member then so desires. I now call the honourable member for Jagga Jagga.
Thank you, and I will note that I was interrupted. All right, Deputy Speaker, this is an important bill. It matters to families in my community. It matters to early educators in my community. It matters to businesses in my community who will benefit from having more workers available to them. It is good for children in my community who will be assisted to get the best possible start in life. For all those reasons, I'm very pleased to support this bill and I commend it to the House.
I thank the honourable member for Jagga Jagga. The question is that the amendment be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Calare.